Some of you know, probably most of you know, I do a TV show called The Struggle. And I get some of the material from Democracy Now!, which is willing to let anybody use it. And they had a show just last Friday about this BDS bill. And they had on the reporter from The Intercept, who was the person researching the whole story. And when The Intercept broke it, it became a really big thing. So the reporter went to talk to Senator Cardin. And Cardin was, I believe he's from Maryland, and he's the one who introduced the bill. And he said, well, you know, what about these penalties? And Cardin said, oh, I don't think there are any penalties in the bill. Can you imagine? It's his own bill, and he doesn't know that there's these not only penalties, 20 years in prison is a possible penalty. Now, how could that possibly be? How many people think he actually wrote the bill? Raise your hand if you think Ben Cardin wrote the bill. Now, here's my guess. There's an organization called the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. How many people think they wrote the bill? A bunch of hands went up. And they just gave it to him. And he signed on to this and sent it on in. He wrote a defense of the bill when the American Civil Liberties Union denounced the bill. And you know, they don't get involved in Middle East politics. They get involved in the Constitution and civil liberties. So they denounced the bill, and then he gave a defense of this thing. I wrote a letter to Mr. Cardin, and I want to read from it. If somebody could hold this, well, you're doing the camera. If you could hold it, all right. Dear Senator Ben Cardin, I read your letter to the ACLU with its defense of the anti-BDS legislation you are sponsoring. You claim it's only a small extension of the current law forbidding cooperation with boycotts of Israel called by foreign countries. Pardon my vulgarity, but who the hell are you and your fellow members of Congress to tell us what we can say and do and what boycotts we can support? How dare you say that cooperation with possible boycotts by international government organizations like the UN or EU or the International Labor Organization is a crime, a felony with huge penalties. A little bit this way so I can. Most of your law is designed to protect apartheid Israel, but it doesn't stop there. If passed, the law would make it the policy of the U.S. to oppose requests to impose restrictive trade practices or boycotts by any foreign country against a country friendly to the United States or against any United States person. So cooperating in international boycotts against any company Trump regards as friendly would be against American policy. So if one day the UN calls for boycotts against Saudi Arabia for its murderous war against Yemen, it's a federal offense? What if the UN asks for restrictive trade practices against the Philippines because its ruler runs the country like Murder Incorporated? How do you have the gall to tell us we can't speak out in favor of such a righteous boycott? And there's that section in your bill opposing boycotts by a foreign country against any United States person. Let me tell you, there's nothing holy about every United States person. We have Klan and Nazis and owners of companies that treat their workers like dirt. If Mexico called for a boycott of Donald Trump and his businesses because of his wall or because his hatred of Latinos will get migrants killed, we Americans have every right to say, Viva Mexico! If Ireland called for a boycott of a company that had a lockout, fired workers and hired scabs, we have every right to shout, long live Ireland! When you were interviewed by The Intercept reporter, you said you didn't think there were penalties in the bill. Why don't you read your own bill rather than just sign off on what AIPAC sends you? Your bill is not only being criticized by supporters of Palestinian human rights, but also by groups that don't usually get involved in Middle East issues, like the American Civil Liberties Union. Senator Cardin, do the right thing. Read the Bill of Rights and withdraw the bill.
Love the bill.